The grand hall of the Galactic Concord shimmered with a kaleidoscope of alien colors. Tentacles brushing silken banners, multifaceted eyes reflecting endless stars, and voices warbling in impossible harmonies. It was a place where ancient species negotiated peace, trade, and dominance over countless star systems. Tonight, however, the center of attention was the Earth delegation. Commander Lena Voss stood tall beside the modest Terran Defense Wing, a cluster of aged, retrofitted warships that looked more like relics than instruments of power. The polished hulls of other fleets gleamed with technological marvels, shimmering energy shields, gravity-distorting drives, and weapons that could tear planets apart in seconds. Earth's ships, in contrast, bore scars of decades of patchwork, upgrades, and budget constraints. Delegates from the dominant races watched with barely concealed amusement. "Look at those rust buckets," whispered an elegant Valari noblewoman, her translucent wings fluttering with disdain. A hulking Gorthian warlord laughed, his guttural voice shaking the chamber. "Did they drag those out of a museum? Those ships won't last a single skirmish against the Zirathi." Lena's jaw clenched, but she said nothing. She had learned the value of patience. Ambassador Jarek, Earth's silver-haired diplomat, stepped forward, attempting to steer the conversation toward formalities. But the laughter echoed like a chorus around the room. No one expected Earth to be anything more than a quaint curiosity, a backward rock clinging to its modest naval ambitions. Yet beneath the surface of cosmic politics, something unusual was stirring. On the outskirts of the chamber, Lena's ship, Ease Resolute, quietly received a strange transmission. It was weak, encrypted, and emanating from a region beyond the Concord's mapped space, the dark void where the Zirathi were thought extinct. Her communications officer, a young but sharp-minded engineer named Mira, stared at the console with wide eyes. "Commander," Mira said, "this signal, it's a warning. Something's moving out there. Fast. Covert. I think it's the Zirathi." Lena's gaze hardened. The Zirathi Dominion had been a shadow from the galaxy's violent past, wiped from the records as a dead threat after the last Great War centuries ago. Yet here was proof they had returned. She activated the ship's secure channel, sending a coded alert to the Concord's Central Command. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, a curt reply arrived. "Continue observation, but avoid engagement." No cause for alarm. Lena frowned. The galaxy's great powers had grown complacent. They believed the Zirathi were myths, ghost stories to frighten children. But she had spent her entire career preparing for a threat no one else believed could come back. That night, as the hall emptied and dignitaries retired to their quarters, Lena stood on the observation deck of Resolute. Below, Earth orbited a pale blue sun, a tiny beacon of life and stubborn hope. Her mind raced through decades of naval doctrine, war games, and hard-won battles. Earth's navy was small, yes, but it was adaptive. Human ingenuity had survived. Nuclear winters, climate disasters, and wars that shredded cities. Their ships may be modest, but their crews were fierce. And the men and women behind every console had something no other species seemed to possess: unyielding resolve. "Commander?" Mira's voice crackled over the comm, breaking through the silence. "I'm picking up multiple signatures, movement, a fleet. It's bigger than I thought." Lena's heart quickened. She ordered Resolute into stealth mode, sliding through the void like a shadow. The Galactic elite had mocked Earth's fleet, but she was about to show them the price of underestimating a species that had survived against all odds. The stars beyond gleamed cold and indifferent, but Lena's eyes burned with determination. They laughed, let them, because the opening strike, when it came, would connect. The cold hum of the EAS Resolute's engines was the only sound aboard the modest Terran warship as it slipped deeper into the black. Commander Lena Voss stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the holographic display flickering before her. Dots moved, slowly but purposefully. Zirathi scout vessels emerging from the shadows like ghostly predators. The Galactic Concord's dismissive orders echoed in her mind. Avoid engagement. Observe only. But Lena knew better. The Zirathi were no myth. They were real, ruthless, and returning with an appetite for conquest. "Status report," she ordered. Mira's fingers danced across the console. "We're tracking at least a dozen scout ships, long-range sensors picking up larger forces behind them, but they're using stealth fields to mask their true numbers." Lena frowned. "How long before they reach the border?" "Not more than 72 hours, Commander." The rest of the conquered fleet, gleaming and numerous, remained in orbit around the neutral world of Seraphis Station, wrapped in political posturing and bureaucratic bickering. No one had taken Earth's warning seriously, no one but Earth. "Sir," a junior officer interrupted, "the communications relay is picking up encrypted chatter. It's Zirathi, but different, more advanced, coordinated." Lena's pulse quickened. The Dominion was no longer the scattered marauders they'd faced centuries ago. They had evolved. She activated a secure channel to Earth Command. "This is EAS Resolute. Zirathi forces confirmed. We request immediate reinforcements and authorization to engage." Static hissed back. Then a terse response from Admiral Kale Vren of the Galactic Concord. "Negative. Maintain observation. The Council refuses to escalate until confirmed threat." Lena slammed her fist on the console. "They're sitting ducks for slaughter." Mira gave her a sympathetic look. "We can't hold off an entire fleet with just us." "Then we'll make them hesitate," Lena said, voice steady. "We'll hit their supply lines, disrupt their communications, and buy time. We have to." The crew exchanged nervous glances. A small fleet fighting a returning nightmare sounds like a suicide mission. But Lena's calm conviction steadied them. Over the next hours, Resolute slipped closer to the Zirathi forward staging area. In the void between stars, the silence was broken only by distant sensor blips and the crew's quiet preparation. Suddenly, the screen flickered. Several Zirathi ships cloaked in shifting energy fields, a signature of their advanced stealth tech, slipped past the fleet's sensors. One moved directly toward a remote outpost on the fringe of conquered space. "Prepare intercept teams," Lena commanded. As Resolute surged forward, pilot Ajit Rana threaded through the asteroid belt like a knife, evading enemy sensor sweeps. The Terran ship's retrofitted stealth systems hummed, blending with cosmic background radiation. The aliens might mock Earth's ships as relics, but here, in the darkness, they were deadly shadows. The first engagement was swift. A Zirathi scout caught off guard was disabled with precision plasma bursts that crippled its engines, but preserved the vessel for intelligence gathering. "Boarding party ready," Lena ordered. A team of elite Marines trained for swift strikes, launched in micro-shuttles. Inside the derelict ship, they found detailed schematics of Zirathi warships and disturbing evidence of bioengineered weapons. Worse, logs revealed plans for rapid assault on multiple Concord worlds. "This isn't a raid," Lena said grimly. "It's an invasion." Back aboard Resolute, the intercepted data was sent via secure relay to Earth Command. Still, the response was delayed and cold. The Council refuses to act on unconfirmed intelligence. Earth is urged to avoid provocative actions. Lena's jaw tightened. The great powers of the Concord were blinded by hubris, believing their dominance would never be challenged. But Earth had learned a hard lesson long ago. Survival required vigilance and swift action, not complacency. As Resolute continued its shadow mission, Lena convened her senior officers. "We can't wait for the Concord's permission. We need to disrupt, delay, and degrade their forces wherever we can." Her officers nodded, a mix of fear and fierce determination in their eyes. They were small in number, but they had one advantage no Zirathi fleet could match: human unpredictability and grit. Just then, a sharp alarm echoed through the ship. "Incoming transmission, Commander. It's encrypted, but it's a warning. From the Zirathi." Lena's fingers hovered over the console. She decoded the message, her eyes widening as the chilling words appeared. "Your petty fleet is a mosquito in a firestorm. We will burn your worlds to ash." The message ended abruptly. Mira turned to Lena, voice low. "They know we're watching." Lena met her gaze, steely and unyielding. "Then let them come. We'll be ready." The alarms on EAS Resolute shrieked through the ship, cutting through the tense silence like a knife. Commander Lena Voss gripped the edge of the command console, eyes fixed on the holographic display flashing crimson alerts. The Zirathi fleet had struck, faster and more brutal than anyone anticipated. Kavara Prime is under attack, the communications officer reported, voice tight with urgency. Multiple orbital bombardments detected. Civilian casualties are catastrophic. Lena's heart clenched. Kavara was a peaceful frontier colony, a symbol of conquered cooperation and hope. A world with towering forests and sprawling cities teeming with life. Now, firestorms raged across its surface, glassing continents beneath the cold stare of enemy dreadnoughts. "Where is the conquered fleet?" Lena demanded. "Scattered. Caught off guard. Reports indicate heavy losses." The Galactic, conquered, prideful and assured of its supremacy, was reeling. The Zirathi had shattered the illusion of safety, and Earth's modest fleet was the only force even remotely ready to respond. Lena turned to her officers. "We move out. Hit-and-run strikes. We cannot face their main fleet head-on, but we can disrupt. We will become ghosts. Striking, fading, striking again." Mira nodded, already calculating trajectories and potential ambush points. "We can use the asteroid belt near Kavara as cover. It's dense, but perfect for guerrilla tactics." Lena allowed herself a grim smile. "Exactly the kind of ugly war we're built for." As Resolute slipped into the shadows of the asteroid field, the crew prepared for a battle unlike any they'd fought before. Their ships were slower, less armed than the enemy's, but their strengths lay in agility, coordination, and surprise. Outside, the void was alive with flashes, plasma bolts streaking across the black, debris tumbling from shattered vessels. The distant glow of burning cities on Kavara Prime cast an eerie light on the combat zone. The first ambush came swiftly. Using hidden asteroid fragments as cover, Terran fighters darted from shadow to shadow, targeting enemy supply convoys and crippling essential logistics. The Zirathi ships, designed for overwhelming force, struggled to adapt to the erratic and relentless strikes. "Target the fuel reserves," Lena ordered. "No supply, no advance." EAS Resolute launched a swarm of drones, each tiny but packed with electromagnetic pulse charges. They swarmed a Zirathi carrier, disabling its internal systems and sending it spiraling out of control. Cheers rippled through the crew, but the victory was costly. A sudden volley of enemy fire tore through the asteroid field. The Resolute shook violently as a plasma blast struck its port side. "Hull breach in Section 3, the engineer shouted. "We're losing atmosphere." "Damage control teams to your stations," Lena commanded. Smoke filled the corridors, alarms blaring. The crew worked swiftly, sealing compartments and fighting fires. Even as the ship healed its wounds, the psychological toll was clear. This was no routine skirmish. It was a brutal war for survival. On the bridge, Lena's gaze hardened. She knew the Zirathi would escalate. Their cruelty was legendary, and they had no compunction about targeting civilian populations to break morale. "Prepare a counterstrike," she said. "We need to send a message that Earth will not be a stepping stone for conquest." The Resolute's weapons officer, Lieutenant Harris, tapped a sequence into the targeting system, charging plasma cannons. In the distance, a massive Zirathi dreadnought loomed, its hull bristling with weaponry. Lena's eyes narrowed. "This one's ours." With a sudden burst of speed, the Terran ship surged from cover, targeting the enemy's exposed engineering bays. Plasma bolts tore into the dreadnought systems, causing internal explosions that rocked the massive vessel. The Zirathi ship tried to retaliate, but the Resolute twisted away, using gravitational anomalies to mask its movements. The dreadnought's engines faltered. With one final salvo, Lena's ship delivered a crippling blow. The enemy behemoth exploded in a shower of fire and metal. The crew erupted in cheers, but Lena knew the battle was far from over. As the Resolute withdrew, an encrypted message from Earth Command cut through the comms. "Lena, hold position. Reinforcements en route. Do not engage beyond tactical strikes." Lena frowned, the command echoing the same caution that had frustrated her since arrival. She looked out at the burning world below. Kavera Prime was scarred but not broken. Humanity was fighting not just for survival, but for respect, and they were only just beginning. The EAS Resolute drifted in the shadow of the shattered dreadnought's wreckage, its hull scarred but intact. The battle for Kavera Prime had proven brutal, and the cost was rising. The communications console crackled again, this time with a desperate distress call from a conquered refugee convoy trapped in the Zirathi's tightening grip. Hundreds of ships carrying millions fleeing the slaughter were stranded between the enemy lines and a rapidly collapsing star system. "Commander," Mira said, her voice tight with urgency, "they'll be annihilated if we don't act." Lena's eyes locked onto the flickering beacon of the convoy signal. There was no time to debate tactics or wait for backup. "We don't have the firepower to break their blockade head-on," Lena said quietly. "But we have something they don't expect." She turned to Lieutenant Harris, the weapons officer. "Prepare the warhead. This isn't just any explosive, it's a neutron core breach charge. Designed for one purpose, to pierce the toughest shields and cause catastrophic damage." Harris nodded grimly. "We'll have one chance. If we miss," Lena cut him off, "we won't." The crew worked in tense synchronization, preparing the Resolute for what was essentially a suicide mission. The plan was brutal. EAS Resolute would act as a spear, drawing the Zirathi fleet's fire, then detonating the warhead inside the core of a massive enemy dreadnought, crippling the blockade and allowing the convoy to escape. The weight of the mission pressed down on everyone aboard. In the last moments before the strike, Lena stood alone on the observation deck, staring out at the void. The stars seemed indifferent to their struggle, distant and cold. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. "Commander, may I join you?" Mira stepped quietly beside her. Lena nodded. "Why do you think we can win?" Mira asked, her eyes reflecting the distant light of dying worlds. "Because," Lena said slowly, "we don't have the luxury of fear. We fight for every breath, every moment. We carry the hope of a species that refuse to be forgotten." Mira smiled faintly. "Then let's make sure they remember us." Back on the bridge, the crew braced for impact. Sensors showed the enemy, Dreadnought's massive shields flickering, strong but strained. The Zirathi commanders were confident in their superiority, their sneers echoing in Lena's mind. "Steady," she murmured. "Hold course." As the Resolute surged forward, plasma fire ripped through the void. The ship rocked violently under heavy assault, hull plating melting in streaks of fire. Crews at their stations fought for control, rerouting power, stabilizing systems. The countdown to warhead detonation began. 3, 2. With a final push, the Resolute rammed the Dreadnought's core. The warhead detonated in a blinding burst of light and energy, tearing through the ship's neutron shield and igniting a chain reaction deep within its reactor. The explosion was apocalyptic. The Dreadnought shattered from within, sending a shockwave that disabled nearby enemy vessels and broke the blockade's grip. But the Resolute was caught in the blast radius. Emergency alarms screamed as the ship's systems failed one by one. The crew braced for impact. "Commander, the hull integrity is compromised. We won't make it out," Harris shouted. Lena's final order was calm, resolute. "Send all remaining power to shields. Prepare to abandon ship if necessary." The Resolute's battered frame limped away from the explosion, but its fate was sealed. With the blockade shattered, the refugee convoy fled through the corridor the sacrifice had carved. Galactic broadcasts captured the moment. A lone battered Earthship, diving headlong into the heart of the enemy's might. It was raw, desperate, and unforgettable. Back on the conquered homeworld, the mood shifted overnight. Where once there had been laughter and disdain, now there was stunned silence. Humanity's courage could no longer be ignored. In a private chamber, Lena addressed the Earth delegation via HoloLink, her voice steady despite the weight of loss. The Resolute crew saved millions today. They showed the galaxy what Earth's modest navy is made of. We may not have the biggest fleet, but we have the will to strike when it matters most. She paused, eyes shining with fierce pride. And we're just getting started. The opening strike had connected, and humanity's star was rising. The EAS Revenant glided silently through the dense asteroid field, its hull blending almost seamlessly with the jagged rocks and drifting debris. Commander Lena Voss had learned a harsh truth in the last battles. Raw firepower alone would never beat the Zerathi's overwhelming numbers and technological edge. To survive, Earth's Navy had to fight smarter. Around the galactic table, the other races remained confident in their massive fleets and planet-cracking weapons. But Earth had something they didn't, a deep understanding of adaptability and guerrilla warfare born from millennia of struggling against far greater threats. Captain, Mira's voice crackled over the comm. Sensor arrays confirm a Zerathi supply convoy is passing through this sector. They're transporting plasma cores and bioweapons to forward bases. Lena's lips curled into a grim smile. Perfect. This is exactly the target we need. The plan was simple in concept, but devilishly difficult in execution. Use the asteroid field to mask the Revenant's presence, strike fast, disrupt the convoy, and vanish before the Zerathi could respond. Traditional battleships couldn't navigate the field without risking catastrophic collisions, but Earth's ships, light, nimble, and equipped with modified stealth tech, were built for this kind of war. Ready the drones, Lena ordered. We'll hit them where it hurts, their logistics. A swarm of tiny high-velocity drones launched into the void like hornets, buzzing toward the convoy. Each drone carried electromagnetic pulse charges and miniature disruptors designed to fry enemy systems rather than blow ships to pieces. The goal was chaos, not destruction. The first drone zipped under the shield of a Zerathi freighter and detonated, an EMP blast. Systems flickered and died. Engines sputtered. Confusion rippled through the convoy. Lena watched the enemy fleet falter, their sleek ships now drifting helplessly in the asteroid field. Now, she whispered. The Revenant surged, forward, weaving through the chaos, laser batteries blazing, targeting the crippled ships. Earth's fleet delivered precision strikes to engines and weapon arrays, crippling the convoy's ability to regroup. Damage report, Lena demanded. Lieutenant Harris's voice was steady. Minimal hull breaches. No critical damage to our ships. Enemy losses are mounting. In the midst of the assault, the Revenant's AI assistant, Iris, whispered a warning. Commander, incoming flare detected. A solar storm is building in this sector. It will peak in 10 minutes. Lena's eyes flicked to the ominous readings. A solar storm could fry sensors, disable communications, and blind even the most advanced chips. A solar storm? Mira asked. That could be disastrous. Or an opportunity, Lena said. Prepare to use the storm as cover. We'll mask our retreat in the electromagnetic chaos. The Zerathi scrambled to adapt, but the storm's unpredictable bursts of energy wreaked havoc on their systems. Navigation was a nightmare, and their sensors flickered in and out. Under the cover of the storm, the Revenant and its accompanying fighters vanished into the asteroid field's labyrinth. As the solar winds howled through space, Earth's fleet had struck a crippling blow to the Zerathi supply chain and lived to fight another day. Back at Earth Command, analysts pored over the battle data. This changes everything, Mira said, pointing at the screen. The Zerathi can't predict or counter these tactics. Admiral Voss leaned back, a rare smile breaking through his usually stern demeanor. Earth is teaching the galaxy a new kind of warfare, he said. Strategy over brute force. But the galaxy's old guard wasn't ready to concede. Reports of Earth's success sent ripples of unease through the Concord's political halls. We must contain this rogue faction, a Valari ambassador warned. Their unpredictable methods threaten the delicate balance. Lena knew Earth's ingenuity was both their greatest strength and their most dangerous weapon. The Zerathi would not ignore these strikes for long. As she prepared for the next engagement, Lena's resolve hardened. They might mock Earth's modest navy, but the galaxy was learning a harsh lesson. Innovation and tenacity could topple empires, and Earth was just getting started. The Galactic Concord's marble halls had rarely known such discord. The laughter at Earth's expense had long since faded, replaced by uneasy whispers and veiled threats. Lena Voss, sitting before a holoscreen in a discreet chamber aboard, Seraphis Station watched the political theater unfold with grim satisfaction. Humanity's fight has rattled the status quo, Ambassador Jarek said, voice low but tense. The great powers fear Earth's unpredictability, and the shadow of the Zerathi threat now looms over us all. Lena nodded. We've shown them the danger they chose to ignore. But if we're to win, we can't fight alone. Across the room, holograms flickered with the images of various alien leaders, Valari nobles, Gorthian warlords, and other species both powerful and secretive. Few were willing to openly ally with Earth, still wary of the upstart race that had shattered centuries of complacency. But whispers circulated about secret meetings, clandestine pacts forged in the shadows. Mira, standing nearby, tapped the console. Commander, we've intercepted encrypted transmissions from the Revikari Collective. They're a nomadic species, expert in stealth and guerrilla warfare. They've suffered under Zerathi raids for generations. Lena's eyes gleamed. They could be invaluable. We need their fleet's hit-and-run tactics and knowledge of the uncharted sectors. Jarek furrowed his brow. But gaining their trust won't be easy. They don't swear loyalty lightly. Lena smiled faintly. Neither do we. Later that day, aboard the dimly lit corridors of the Revikari flagship Shadow Spire, Lena and a small delegation met with Kalen, the Revikari leader. His eyes, sharp and calculating, studied the Terran commander. You've disrupted the Dominion's plans, Kalen said, voice like gravel. But your people are reckless, too bold, for their own good. And your people are survivors, Lena replied. We fight the same enemy. Our strengths combined could turn the tide. Kalen leaned forward. Show me proof your navy can endure. One more victory, and we consider alliance. It was a challenge, but one Lena accepted without hesitation. Back aboard the Ease Revenant, preparations began for a critical mission. A strike on a hidden Zerathi staging ground deep within the Revikari sectors. Success meant demonstrating Earth's capability and earning the Revikari's trust. Mira worked tirelessly, analyzing sensor data and enemy patrol routes. This won't be easy, she warned. The Dominion's defenses are heavy here. Lena's voice was steady. Then we hit fast and vanished, no room for hesitation. As the Revenant and its small escort slipped into the Revikari sectors, Lena's crew felt the weight of expectation. Failure would mean losing a vital chance to secure a powerful ally and possibly doom countless worlds to Zerathi conquest. The attack was brutal and precise. Using Revikari stealth techniques combined with Earth's tactical ingenuity, the fleet crippled enemy supply lines and shattered key command nodes. The Zerathi responded with fury, but Earth's ships danced through the chaos, evading destruction by fractions of seconds. When the dust settled, the victory was undeniable. Back on the Shadow Spire, Kalen's expression softened. You have proven yourselves, he said. The Revikari stand with Earth. News of the alliance spread like wildfire. Other minor factions, previously hesitant or neutral, began to reconsider their positions. Humanity's rising star was becoming a rallying beacon, yet not all welcomed this shift. In the Concord's Grand Council, powerful figures plotted to curb Earth's influence. The humans are destabilizing centuries of balance, a Valari noble declared. We must find a way to control them or destroy them. Lena knew the road ahead was perilous. Political games and shadow wars would test humanity as much as any fleet engagement. But for now, Earth had its first true allies, and, with them, a fighting chance to face the coming storm. The void was a battlefield painted in fire and shadow. Commander Lena Voss stood rigid on the bridge of the EAS Revenant, eyes locked on the swirling mass of enemy vessels encroaching on the vital supply corridor near the Revikari sectors. Today was more than a battle. It was the moment Earth's modest navy would prove its mettle against the Galactic Concord's long-feared enemy. Enemy fleet closing fast, Lieutenant Harris reported. Approximately 40 vessels, including 2 dreadnoughts. Lena's jaw clenched. The Zerathi had thrown everything they had into breaking the alliance, desperate to keep control of the supply lines feeding their invasion forces. We hold this line, Lena said, voice calm but resolute. No ground lost. The Revenant surged forward, flanked by Revikari stealth fighters that flickered in and out of sensor range like phantoms. The Alliance's tactics were unorthodox: hit-and-run strikes, electronic warfare, and precision, targeting rather than overwhelming force. As plasma bolts arced across the void, Lena coordinated her fleet's maneuvers with ruthless efficiency. Earth ships darted between asteroids, using the terrain as a natural shield while launching drone swarms to disable enemy targeting systems. Amid the chaos, a dreadnought locked onto the Revenant, charging a massive plasma cannon. Shields, at 70%, the engineer yelled. Evasive maneuvers, Lena ordered. Pilot Ajit Rana pushed the Revenant hard, weaving through debris with heart-stopping precision. The plasma blast scorched past, missing by mere meters. Counterattack now, Lena commanded. Lieutenant Harris unleashed the Revenant's plasma cannons, aiming for the dreadnought's exposed engine arrays. The blasts hit home, causing a cascade of explosions that slowed the enemy behemoth. The Zerathi responded with ruthless desperation, sending boarding pods toward Earth's ships. Lena ordered emergency lockdowns and directed Marines to repel boarders. The ship shook with internal firefights, the scent of burnt circuitry thick in the air. Through the mayhem, Lena's comm crackled. Commander, incoming transmission from Revikari Command, Mira reported. Kalen's face appeared on the holoscreen, expression grim. The Dominion's flagship has entered the battle. We cannot hold the line much longer without your decisive action. Lena's mind raced. The flagship, an enormous, heavily shielded dreadnought, was the heart of the enemy fleet. Taking it down would cripple the entire force. We draw them in, Lena said. Prepare the ion torpedo salvo. We'll cripple their shields and hit their core. The fleet shifted tactics, feigning retreat to lure the flagship into a narrow canyon of asteroids, a natural kill zone. As the Zerathi flagship pursued, Lena gave the order. Fire everything. Ion torpedoes streaked through space, detonating. In precise timing. The flagship's shields flickered and failed under the barrage, exposing its vulnerable core. The Revenant and its allies unleashed their plasma cannons and drone swarms, ripping the flagship apart from the inside. Explosions bloomed like supernovae, lighting the darkness with death. With the flagship destroyed, the remaining Zerathi vessels faltered. Confusion spread like wildfire, their formations breaking apart. Lena seized the moment. Press the attack, push them back. The Allied fleet surged forward, driving the enemy from the sector. As the battle ended, cheers erupted through the Revenant. But Lena remained on the bridge, staring out at the wreckage. Today we turned the tide, she said quietly. Mira smiled, exhaustion and pride mingling in her eyes. Earth's navy isn't modest anymore. The victory sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The once dismissive conquered powers now looked to Earth as a rising force, one capable of changing the balance of power. But the war was far from over. Lena knew the Dominion would adapt, grow more dangerous, and the modest navy that once was Earth's secret would soon become the galaxy's hope, or its last desperate stand. The battlefield was silent now, but the weight of what had transpired hung heavy in the air. Commander Lena Voss stood at the bow of the EAS Revenant, staring out into the void where the last embers of the shattered Zerathi flagship drifted like dying stars. The victory had come at a staggering cost, but it was a turning point, not just for Earth's modest navy, but for humanity itself. Commander? Mira's voice broke softly through the comm. The Revikari fleet has joined, the conquered forces in full alliance. Other races are rallying. Earth's stand has ignited something greater than war. Lena nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. It was never just about survival. It was about proving that humanity belongs in this galaxy, not as a footnote, but as a force to be reckoned with. Behind her, the crew gathered quietly. Many bore the scars of battle, missing limbs, haunted eyes, but all carried the fire of resolve. They had fought not just to protect their homes, but to redefine what it meant to be human. From the hollow bridge, a message from Earth Command blinked into view. Admiral Voss's voice was steady but proud. Lena, your leadership and sacrifice have forged an alliance that will change the course of history. The galaxy will remember the day Earth's modest navy stood against the might of the Dominion and won. The modest fleet had become a beacon, a symbol of grit, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit. Even the old powers of the Galactic conquered could no longer deny the rise of humanity. Yet Lena knew the road ahead was fraught with challenges. The Zerathi remnants still lurked in shadowed sectors, regrouping and thirsting for revenge. Political intrigue simmered beneath the surface of uneasy alliances. And somewhere deep in the void, a new threat stirred. One humanity would face together, or not at all. But for now, beneath the quiet hum of the Revenant, Lena allowed herself a rare moment of peace. Commander, Mira approached. There's something you should see. On the observation deck, the stars stretched infinitely, but one light shone brighter than the rest. A distant blue-green world. Earth. Lena's gaze softened. Home. Mira smiled. The fight changed us, but it brought us back here. Stronger, united. The stars held promises, dangers, and mysteries beyond imagining, but humanity had proven it was ready. Not with overwhelming firepower, but with courage born in the humblest of places. The modest navy was no longer modest. It was legend, and its legacy would blaze across the stars, an eternal fire kindled by the defiant spirit of Earth.